Hello, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be discussing this lovely novel in verse which I read for middle grade March. It fits the prompt of a contemporary book because it was published just in the past year, but as I came to find out, it's not a contemporary setting. It's set primarily in the early 80s, and it does have a few like flashback sort of poems to when the main character was a younger child back in the 70s, but it also does fit the prompt of a character who is Asian, and I really, really enjoyed this book. I feel it could be enjoyed by people of all ages, not just the middle grade age group, and also in the age-based category. The main character is like 13, 14 for most of the novel, so it's really sort of like that kind of like straddling the fence area, gray area between like upper middle grade and lower YA, and as you can see, it's called Red, White, and Whole by Rajani LaRocca, and I was really excited, kind of interested to discover when she's crediting people in the back. I know her critique partner. We were blogging buddies back in the day. I haven't checked out her blog in a while. I don't know if she's still like regularly blogging or not, but we're still friends on Facebook. And she also said she took part in Pitch Wars back in 2017. I used to do this too when I was trying to pursue traditional publication. I've obviously since chosen indie, but I did take part in like Pitch Wars and the whatever other event they Pitch Madness. Yeah, I'm sorry, I've forgotten it because it's been so long since I've been trying for traditional publication. But I did take part in those events as well back in the day. So that's an interesting and direct connection we have. So let's just read that synopsis. Reha feels torn between two worlds: school, where she's the only Indian American student, and home, with her family and their community. But Reha's parents don't understand. She feels disconnected from her mother, or Amma. Although their names are linked, Reha means star, and Poonam means moon. They are a universe apart. Then Reha finds out that her Amma is sick, really sick. Reha, who dreams of becoming a doctor, even though the sight of blood makes her woozy, is determined to make her Amma well. She becomes fixated on red and white blood cells, facing her fear, and being the daughter her parents want her to be, because she has no idea how she can go on if the moon is missing from her sky. I would like to apologize. I accidentally mispronounced the protagonist's name when I was discussing this book in my TBR video for Middle Grade Madness. I pronounced it Reha, which is kind of like there's a Hebrew name, Recha, and I was just kind of thinking of that and like pushing my own like pronunciation familiarity onto it, even though I do like read a lot of like Indian stories and such, and I'm kind of like somewhat familiar with that culture. I wouldn't say like super duper familiar, but I have read more than like a few books and stories, so I do apologize. I mispronounced that name. That was not intentional disrespect at all. And so anyway, as I mentioned, this is a novel in verse set primarily in 1983 and 1984 as Reha is in 8th grade. She's going to a private school. Her parents only have her because her mother almost died when she was born. The doctor said it wouldn't be like safe for you to continue trying to have children, so she decided to just close up the baby factory, and she and her husband will put all their focus onto their one child, and so they sacrifice a lot so they can send her to private school. Her cousin Suni is going to a public school in the same area, but they want the best for their only child, and so they'll like shop at thrift stores and buy used clothing and make their own clothes at home and like drive halfway across town for like cheaper groceries. Also, she can go to school, a better school, and I think sacrifice for her. And a lot of Indian and other immigrants do this too. They're better Americans than actual like born and native born Americans, and they don't take for granted like any of the opportunities they have here. They don't want to like waste educational opportunities or anything like that. And it's just like a really hard, good work ethic. And she like talks a little bit about growing up in the first few poems, like when her parents first came to the U.S. and they were living in New York, and then we meet her best friend Rachel, who is Jewish, and they have like similarities in common because all the other girls at their and boys at their school, they're from different worlds. Like Rachel doesn't eat certain kinds of food because she keeps kosher, and Reha's family is vegetarian, so she doesn't eat any meat at all. And so they're like kind of left out when they go to like birthday parties and such, and they can't eat the pepperoni pizza and things like that. And soon into the book, Reha becomes friends with a boy named Pete, who she gets a little bit of a mutual crush on, and they become steady buddies, and just, all sorts of things throughout the book, talking about living in two worlds. She's like an American girl when she goes to school, but on weekends when all her parents, friends, and their children get together, she's an Indian, and she regularly goes to visit her family back in India, although she no longer remembers how to speak the Indian language as they do, and she never studied Sanskrit, although she does read comic books telling stories from Indian history. And there are, I think, 4 poems throughout the book telling the story of Savitri and her husband Satyavan, which she learned from one of the Indian comic books. It's just a wonderful story, kind of mirroring what goes on. And I'm sorry if I'm blinking too much there. I guess it's just sunlight. I really do apologize for that. And it kind of mirrors the story. Her mother gets leukemia. She Reha goes to a school dance, which her father wanted her to let her go to, but her mother was kind of opposed to, because you're an Indian girl, you don't do that, you don't mingle with boys outside of school. But she eventually agrees to let her go, and because she's not feeling well, and she can't sew a dress for Reha like she usually does, she gives permission for her to go to the mall so she can actually buy something good and that looks normal and modern and fashionable. So, she has a great time at the dance with Pete and Rachel and her other buddies. But when she gets to be picked up, her father isn't there. It's her cousin and aunt, and she finds out her mother has been in hospital and she's sick and eventually diagnosed with leukemia. And she, just gets sicker and sicker. But for a while, she seems to be getting better. And then Reha's auntie Prema comes from India to help with taking care of the family while her mother is in hospital. It's just a really wonderful, beautiful, moving book. I would highly recommend it to you guys if you enjoy novels in verse and Indian culture. I've been interested in Indian language, culture, music, religion, mythology, and such like that since I was just recently had turned 14 years old. My interest was awake, and the spark was planted when I first heard the Beatles song "Within You, Without You," which is George Singh's lead on it. Has all these groovy Indian instruments. It kind of opened this magical door to a world I hadn't found out about. And then the seed really kicked in. The little spark became a mighty flame when we studied about Indian history and religion. My freshwoman year of high school, when we were taking a global studies class during the first semester of the year, I was just totally fascinated. And ever since then, I've just absolutely loved pretty much everything about India, particularly the religion and the history, just everything about it, and also Indian food. And as I've mentioned in several previous videos, the religion I feel closest to after my own is Hinduism, and I also feel very close to Buddhism and Jainism as well. And it's really interesting to note, as I mentioned in my video, when I talked about the Devi Vanamali's book, The Play of God, which still has no comments on, which if you're interested, I would really appreciate it if you would actually, watch that video and give me some feedback, because I don't understand why many of my book review videos get absolutely 0 comments. Are they really that horrible, or is it just I haven't found an audience yet? But anyway, I mentioned in that video, there's been a long, close relationship between the Jewish and the Indian people, because India is truly kind of the only major world nation that has no real history of anti-Semitism, and I've found a lot of anti-Semites are also extremely Hindu-phobic and anti-Indian, and there are long traditions of several beautiful established Jewish communities in India. So it's just a beautiful bond our two people share, and we also are more an ethno-religious group, just like the Hindus are, which is just, I know I'm getting off topic, but it's just I just absolutely love all things Indian. I just feel a close bond with them because of their similarities with my own people, and that's one of the reasons I got the left side of my nostril pierced back in 2003, because that's the side traditionally done in India. But I am hoping very soon, God willing, to finally get the right side done, because I just want the more symmetrical look, and they'll eventually be connected by a chain when they're all healed up. And I will eventually also be getting my high nostrils done in a pair as well. So it's just something lovely. One of the many things I just love about all things Indian. And I really, really do apologize if I've been rambling too much, because this is, a fairly short video. The book isn't, super duper long and intense, but it is very powerful and emotional. I would highly recommend it to people of all ages if you like novels in verse, or Indian culture, the story of living between 2 different worlds, or living when you have a parent or someone, a loved one in the family who is sick, and you're dealing with that, and just trying to be a normal teenager despite the heavy things going on in your life. So thank you very much if you have watched all the way to the end. My next video will be tomorrow because it's International Women's Day. I will be talking about one of my sheroes, my 29 great grandmother, Queen Saint Margaret of Scotland. Yes, I am Jewish, but I do have some saints and many Christians in my family tree. I have an extremely complicated it's a very personal story. I don't really like to talk about it in public, but I do have a very interesting family background in religious history. Maybe someday I'll feel comfortable enough talking about that in public. But anyway, I'll be talking about Queen Margaret tomorrow for International Women's Day. If you're interested in famous, inspiring women in history, I encourage you guys to watch that video, and please consider liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. And thank you guys again very much for watching. Thanks. Bye.